Shabbat Shalom, Yasharel. I hope you're well. If you're walking in His ways, you can't even fail. A virtuous bride about to remove a veil. You better get on before the last ship sails. Work 6 days and rest on the 7th. Working out my salvation, trying to get to heaven. I'm thanking Abba Yah for all of His blessings. Behind every tribulation, hope you get the lesson. If you want salvation, prepare your soul for testing. That Ruach HaKodesh get you filled when you catch it. You're seeking out truth, you gon' have to go and fetch it. If it's done for the kingdom, the Most High will bless it. Obedience is 10 times better than sacrifice. The price for salvation is your old life. We not kindling no flames, we not causing no strife. We on the way up, Yasharel mid-flight. All in 6 days He made the heavens and the earth. You a holy nation, so know your worth. If you're born again, you experience new birth. The called out assembly is the real church. I put that on Abba. Yeah. I put that on Yahweh. Yeah. I wanna thank Father. Yeah. He washed me clean with water. Yeah. I put that on Abba. Yeah. I put that on Yahweh. Yeah. I wanna thank Father. Yeah. He washed me clean with water. Yeah. I put that on Abba. Yeah. I put that on Yahweh. Yeah. I wanna thank Father. Yeah. He washed me clean with water. Yeah. This is a Closer to Yah Ministries Sabbath Day exclusive. The message is about to begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Yasharel. All praise and honor to the Most High Yah. You know, man, it's been a great week knowing that the Most High Yah has spared us, you know, another 7 days to be able to enter into His set apart, you know, day. You know, as we enter into the last days, man, there is a lot going on around us. There is a lot going on in the midst of, you know, the battlefield, spiritual warfare, the spiritual realm, as well as the physical. And today's message, you know, is coming just in time for the feast of Passover and feast of unleavened bread. In today's Shabbat message, I'll be talking about, and the title of the message is Internal and External Trust. And we're going to be diving into, you know, doing the deeper examination of self. And oftentimes pride and ego is something that covers up trust issues. And if you don't have internal trust of self, man, that will lead to the inability to be able to trust in others. Man, I hope everybody's having a blessed morning. Had a blessed week. Hope everybody's in good health. And we're going to go ahead and kick this one off because this one is going to, I feel, help a lot of people, you know, in an area that often doesn't get talked about. We talk about all the other, major issues, major type sins, major type transgressions. But this one often, you know, gets left unturned. So it's right on time. Welcome to all in Shabbat Shalom, Yisrael. How to support the ministry? Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Turn your notifications on and set to all notifications. Share this video. Check out the affiliate links in the description box for exclusive discount codes with the disclaimer of no buying or selling on the Shabbat. Messiah went into the temple and cast it out. He whipped the money changers on the Shabbat for violating this. we hear today, Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 through 11. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy Yah. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and earth and the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Exodus 31:13. Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord that doeth sanctify you. Ye shall keep. Strong's number Hebrew word 8104, to guard, to protect, to obtend, to observe, take heed, reserve, to be kept. Luke chapter 4, verse 13 through 16. And Yahushua returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee, and there went out a fame of him through all the region round about him. And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. Agenda. In today's Shabbat message, we will be discussing trust from the aspects of internal and external trust. I will also detail to you why we are often plagued with trust issues, and this is catastrophic to friendships and relationships. For many years, this is something I battled with as a child, and it would later shape the earlier parts of adulthood. This teaching is important because we are less than 2 weeks out from the Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. Internal trust, the confidence and security one feels within themselves and their relationships, encompassing a belief in their own abilities and the dependability of others. So when we look at the confidence and security one feels within themselves, internal trust, if you don't have it, can lead to insecurities, and I will talk about that later on. External trust, the confidence and security you feel towards others, placing your confidence in their abilities, actions, and decisions. Man, if you do not have internal trust of self, it is going to be for dang sure hard for you to trust others. And today I'm going to outline, some ways that, your lack of internal trust can be, presented or revealed in your external trust of others. Disclaimer: having expectations of others that you cannot fulfill or demonstrate is a recipe for disaster and will produce an array of trust issues. This is a common trait found with people who have displayed trust issues. They have no problem holding you to a righteous standards while living in complete lawlessness. Unrealistic expectations of others, often stemming from societal pressures or idealized notions, can lead to disappointment and strained relationships. To foster healthy relationships, it is crucial to recognize these expectations and learn to set realistic ones. I've done teachings before talking about, accepting people where they are. People will show you, who they are exactly. And it is for you to receive that and analyze that and say, hey, I don't need to put this person in a box. I don't need to hold them to a standard that I know they're not focused on meeting. Oftentimes what happens is we see people that are living completely lawless but have a form of godliness. They have a form of religion, and you think you can hold them to the standard of righteousness. And they're proving to you the whole time that you can't. Types of trust. Competence-based trust. This is the type of trust that stems from believing someone is capable and skilled in a particular area, leading you to rely on their expertise. Example: trusting a doctor's medical advice due to their training and experience. So that's one we can relate to. Care-based trust. This form of trust is built on the belief that someone genuinely cares about your well-being and has your best interests at heart. Example: trusting a friend to listen to your problems and offer support. Care-based trust. Now, when you are having problems trusting other people, and it roots from a lack of internal trust, it's going to be hard for you to demonstrate care-based trust. Character-based trust. This is the type of trust that is founded on someone's integrity, honesty, and moral compass, leading you to believe they will act ethically and responsibly. Example, trusting a colleague to keep confidential information because of their reputation for honesty. This one right here is truly, what the righteous are called to be. When it comes to integrity, our conviction, honesty, our moral compass, if we're walking in the spirit, you shouldn't have no problems with this one. And oftentimes, when you don't have this stems from a lack thereof character. Okay? Consistency-based trust. This form of trust arises from someone's reliability and dependability, knowing they will consistently follow through on their commitments and actions. So there's people out there that, you choose to distrust because they have shown you a history of not keeping their word. And this is why, keeping your word is so important. When we look in the Torah, keeping your word is lawful. Not keeping your word, is a doggone sin. Example, trusting a partner to be punctual for dates because they have a history of being reliable. Misplaced trust. The first mistake as believers that we make is placing our trust in places and things where it doesn't belong. This can start to dictate your life and your decisions because you will start trying to control the action and conducts of others because of your lack of trust and misplaced trust. Misplaced. You have the trust, but it's in the wrong area. It's in the wrong thing. We ignorantly put our trust in the following: people, friends, family, spouse, career, work and or job, money, currency, wealth, riches. Now, this is going to sound foreign to a lot of people, but when you look at these, when it comes to people, friends, family, or spouse, man, your trust has to be properly aligned. If it's not properly aligned, you are going to have trust issues. This is why you have married people that before their spouse goes out, they have to kind of threaten them a little bit. Well, hey, I love you, but, don't go out there and do nothing crazy. Don't go out there and do nothing I wouldn't do, because if you do it, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Man, that's showing you that your trust is not aligned. Once you acknowledge where your trust is supposed to be, once I acknowledge this was the end of any trust issues I ever had. The question may come up in your mind: if I trust people, do I trust people? I do trust everyone I meet, but furthermore, I expect them to be human. I trust them to be human, which means they are flawed and fallible. Okay, when we look at Hamashiach was the only perfect one. This is the reason why he was the example. So when I say I trust people, I expect them to be human. I know people will have some shortcomings. I know people will make some mistakes. I know people will do things that are less than desirable. And the book tells you this. I trust everyone I meet, but furthermore, I expect them to be human. Nobody is exempt from that. I expect people to be carnally minded. If they're showing me that, I'm believing 100% that they're carnally minded, because they have made no efforts to have their mind renewed, to be born again, to be walking in the Spirit. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Let me say that again. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Man, when your trust is misplaced, something that you do is you want to trust in your friends, your family. You want to give somebody a third, somebody else another third. You want to give somebody else a piece of that last third. And then whatever you have left over, that's oftentimes what you will be trusting in the Most High. So anytime, I'm placed in a situation where, people are going to have to carry things out for the better interests of, myself, my family, the mission, whatever so be, I'm trusting in the Lord with all thine heart. Knowing that man is flawed and fallible, putting 100% of your trust in man is a recipe for disaster. I don't have to get on this phone when my wife goes out and be like, "Hey, where you at? Well, what's your low?" I don't have to do all that. I don't have to do all that. Because, okay, man, the Most High Yah is not going to fail us. Mankind will fail you in its lawless state. No matter what happens, regardless, good or bad, my trust is in the Most High. There are people out there that want you to forsake your trust in the Most High Yah and to put 100% trust in them so you can become vulnerable to their attack. One thing that I am unwavering from is putting my trust in the Most High Yah. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. So, man, there's a way, carnally that we will try to, like I said, we want to give the Most High Yah the last little bit of leftover trust, and we want to kind of, try to figure stuff out to where, well, this person, I should be able to trust them. And oftentimes when you give people more trust than they deserve, than their actions warrant for, this is when they let you down. Verse 6, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. If anything, man, I'll say a prayer over my family. I'll say a prayer over my children. I say a prayer over my wife. And a lot of times they don't even know this is happening. Just to make sure that everybody's in the right mind. Even times where I'm going into places where there could be a spiritual attack. I have to say a prayer for myself. Because I'm not exempt from being flawed and fallible. One thing about walking in the Spirit is your flesh wants to revert to old paths. And what happens is sometimes you have people that are righteous, man, they go back and forth when they do something that's sinful, not willfully, but that's a moment they stepped out of walking in the Spirit. So even in that case, the righteous are flawed and fallible. You got the Pharisees. These people, the Pharisees were righteous, but their level of righteousness was very minuscule. This is why the word says, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the Pharisees, you shall in no wise inherit the kingdom of the Most High. Signs of trust issues: avoiding intimacy, difficulty opening up, sharing feelings or forming close connections, jealousy and possessiveness. That's what I was telling you. You start to get extremely jealous or possessive. Excessive suspicion and control in relationships, even when there is no basis for it. So you've got a whole, even though no facts have been presented, you don't have no case, but in your mind, you got a closed case. You got all the evidence you need, which was a thought that entered into your mind. Fear of abandonment, anxiety and worry of being left or rejected, even in stable relationships. Man, you think about children that are raised in single parent households, whether it be the mother raising them or the father. Fear of abandonment, and that plagues into, and this is one that, I wasn't raised by my mother or father. My father, my entirety of my, young life, wasn't raised by my father. I was only raised by my mother for about a period of about 4 or 5 years when I was in high school. So this is something that I struggle with, fear of abandonment. That played into later on not wanting to develop strong relationships with the women that I was entertaining out of fear of abandonment. Thinking about what happened in childhood. People must address all of this. This is doing the work on self and acknowledging, man, some of this stuff that I'm saying today, I've actually, might be indicators that you got trust issues in certain areas. And it's okay. We can deal with it. The Most High Yah can deliver you out of all of this. But one thing you have to be willing to do is you have been leaning on the trust of man and of woman. You've been putting it in them. And the Most High Yah told you to trust in him with all of your heart, your whole heart. A piece of your heart is not good enough. Difficulty forgiving. Struggling to let go of past hurts or mistakes, even minor ones. We're going to talk about that one too. Assuming betrayal, expecting the worst from others, even when there's no reason to suspect it. Man, you're self-sabotaging any little trust that you could give anybody. You have already fast forwarded in time and seen that the worst has played out when it really hasn't. And that's not the outcome of it. Constant reassurance. This is a common one. Constantly needing validation and confirmation from others. Man, that's a sign you got trust issues. Man, I see when the Most High Yah delivered me out of trust issues, man, the only person I need validation from is the Most High Yah. He the only one got a doggone heaven or hell to put somebody in. He's the only one at the end gonna say, well, good and done, my faithful servant. It won't be my children. It won't be my wife. It won't be my family. Well, good and done, my faithful servant. Overprotective behavior, being overly concerned or controlling of a partner's activity or whereabouts. This is that stuff when I've done videos on it before where you always want to get to your partner's phone. They go to the bathroom. You ask them, you got to pee or you got to poop? Because you gauging how much time you going to have to get with that phone. They sleep and you over there trying to get their face recognition. You go so far as to turn on their location behind the scenes so you can get the drop on them. Avoidance of commitment. Fear of getting too close or invested in a relationship. You fear being hurt. You approach every relationship like that. Every relationship. Self-sabotaging. Engaging in behaviors that undermine a relationship, often out of fear of being hurt. Suspiciousness. Being overly cautious or distrustful of others' motives and actions. You start saying all kind of stuff. Man, you normally don't wear no socks. Where you going that you got to wear some socks? You didn't disregard the fact that it's the middle of winter. You don't normally wear no socks. But all of a sudden you want to wear some socks. I see you. Anxiety and worry. Feeling anxious, on edge, or constantly anticipating something bad will happen. Man, I want you to understand, these behaviors, man, they take a lot of your energy. You take a lot of your energy. Somebody that is suspicious, anxiety and worry, they can have all kind of tasks that need to be done, but they will spend the bulk of their time being suspicious and having anxiety and worrying, and they will try to justify it with this story that's in their head. Emotional detachment. Keeping people at a distance is a way to protect oneself from potential hurt. Difficulty concentrating. Constant worrying and suspicion can make it hard to focus. Low self-esteem. Feeling unworthy of trust or love. And that one comes from a lack of internal trust, can come from trauma, past experiences. Focusing on the negative. Constantly looking for the flaws or problems in others. Okay? This one right here, it will pretty much cancel out your ability to have any kind of healthy relationship with anybody. Because like I said, we as mankind are flawed and fallible. If you sit back and watch anybody long enough, you're going to be able to find something that's negative in your eyes. You'll be able to find something. And you never get the benefit of the good, and any good anybody does, that could be counted as righteousness, you don't give them credit for it because you're only focusing on the negative. Isolation, withdrawing from social interactions to shield oneself from potential hurt. Picking fights, engaging in arguments or conflict over minor issues. When you got trust issues, that's going to be your relationship right then and there. You will start an argument out of nothing to try to extract information and data that could make somebody, guilty, that pleases or is justifying the delusion going on in your mind of stuff that really ain't happened. You say, I got a gut feeling. I got an intuition. So you say you pick a fight. You came home 2 minutes late. Where you was. And if they can't get the story out straight, you like, I knew you was up to something. Picking fights, engaging in arguments or conflicts, often over minor issues. Why Yah and not man? For the moment, From the moment man was given a choice to obey or not to obey, as in the garden with Adam and Eve, man has chosen a way that is not obedient. Most people are simply following the desires of the flesh rather than fulfilling the will of the Most High Yah. 1 John chapter 2, verse 16, for all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And this one right here, this is that gravitational force that's pulling people away from the Most High Yah. So this is where that flawed infallible comes in. If you know the gravitational force that's pulling people, this is what the spiritual, this is what, the spirit of the Most High Yah, the Ruach HaKodesh, this is what's waging war against it. So this is why your trust should be in the Most High Yah rather than putting it solely in man. Who can you trust? The biggest mistake I made early in life is trusting in lawless people and having the expectation that they would be righteous. They will continue to harden your heart because your trust is not aligned with the will of Yah. Man, there's people in the book that the Most High Yah tells you to avoid having relationships with, to turn from such, to stay far away from them, to cut off all evil among you. And here, who are you out here trying to trust? You out here trying to trust the evil. You out here trying to trust the people that, is not living righteous. And that's a guaranteed way to be let down. That's a guaranteed way to be let down. Lawless people are self-serving. Ecclesiastes 10:19. They that fear the Lord are a sure seed, and they that love him an honorable plant. They that regard not the law are a dishonorable seed. They that transgress the commandments are a deceivable seed. So don't allow yourself to be trusting in somebody that is a deceivable seed. You got people out here, okay, you got everybody out here, and this is something that you're starting to hear a lot of now. Well, I'm on a spiritual journey. And people never define what kind of spiritual journey they're in. And you start to trust in them. Oh, I'm on a spiritual journey too. It's just everybody's not on the right spiritual journey. Even when you're worshiping Hasatan, you on a spiritual journey, all right? You just so far off. Got people out here will give the lip service. Oh, I love God and I love Jesus and God is good. And, they will deceive you into thinking they devout, but behind the scenes, they transgress the commandments. Out of the 10 davreens, the 10 words, man, they struggle to hit one of them because they ain't trying. You don't trust yourself. This is a big one. This is a big one. Oftentimes, the trust issues that we have or experience are just a form of projections because we don't truly trust in ourselves. Why would someone not have trust in themselves? James chapter 1, verse 8, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. From today to tomorrow, if you don't trust yourself, you don't know which way you'll go. You don't know the choices you make. Right now, you might be in a scenario or a situation where you say, I got it under control, but if placed in another scenario, another situation, or another environment, this double-minded mentality will prove itself. Okay, here's another one. You have some people will, if somebody else child does something, man, they want their child punished to the maximum extent of carnal law. But if their child does something, they got every excuse and justification why they are not, getting that same level of punishment. Why they shouldn't get it. Man, that's double-minded. That's double-minded. You can't trust yourself. Okay, you got people out here with this term of cheating, which I've often said is not biblical adultery. You want to hold everybody else to the standard of you going to hell because they cheated on you and all of this. But when you get caught up, when you've been caught up, you got a justification. You're double-minded. You can't even trust yourself. You're unstable in all your ways. Double-minded people are not trustworthy because they are experiencing an internal conflict of their beliefs, values, and morals. It's internal. When you're double-minded, man, that's not to the fault of nobody else. That's something going on with self. When you are double-minded, you expect people to be faithful to you first, rather than being faithful solely to the Most High Yah. This is the reason people will spend hours, days, months, and years to investigate the feelings of distrust and faithfulness they have towards someone. I want you to think, man, the Most High Yah's faithfulness, or let me rephrase that. The Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach's faithfulness was to the Most High Yah. He never wavered from that. Never wavered from it. This was for the purpose that he could fulfill his mission. If he started, putting all this trust in other people, that could have thrown him off the mission. So when you don't trust yourself, double-minded, you're expecting people to be faithful to you and to worship you like you some kind of God. We follow, when you think about different pillars in the book that was counted as righteous, we can follow the example of righteousness they did because they were faithful to the Most High Yah when they were doing their righteousness. Example, you loan someone money and then start tracking their every financial move because you never believed they would pay you back. You make a deal with somebody, hey, man, I'll loan you this money. And as long as you pay me back in 60 days, I expect to be paid back. Interest or no interest. If they're a brother in the faith, man, there ain't no interest there. If they're a fellow Israelite. If it's a heathen, a goy, or a Gentile, hey, I need some interest on that. But you don't even get that far. Not 24 hours later after you didn't gave them this little bit of money, you got to be, let me see what they doing on social media. Man, that joker just went out and brought $400 worth of groceries. They wasn't doing that before. Man, that's showing you got some trust issues. Example, you tell your spouse you trust them, but you spend a majority of your time following behind them to find evidence that will support your lack of trust. You smelling drawers, panties. They take a shower. You wonder, well, you normally don't take no shower in the afternoon. Why are you taking a shower? What if they smelled they was a little musty? What if they smelled they was a little funky? Think about it. You're walking in the flesh. When you are walking in the flesh, oftentimes you know right from wrong. But you know that when put in certain situations, you don't have the conviction of faith to stand strong and choose right. Man, this was me. This was me when I was younger. As long as I'm not in an environment where there's a whole lot of spiritual warfare going on, man, I'm good. I'm good. I could be a good man. But it's when you put me in these environments, man, I would fold every time. And this is where, man, you have to be, have that conviction of faith, that conviction to be obedient. Man, no matter what goes on around me, one thing that I can control is my actions. You can't control nobody else, but righteously, you can influence them. Let me say that again. When you got trust issues, you will try to control people. Like I said, threatening, well, if something does happen, I don't know what could take off, but it's going to jump off around here. You can't change nobody. People have to have the desire to want to be changed, to want to be made right, to have a pure heart. They have to want that. See, as pillars of light, man, we are to influence the world for righteousness' sake because they see the light in us. Example, the reason you don't trust people with money is possibly because you don't trust yourself with money. Man, being content, man, even though in my mind, I may want a certain amount of money, but I'm content in the fact that, man, I'm learning to manage what it is I have. Oftentimes people get a lump sum of money and then they get spiritually attacked because they don't have no kind of trust of self. They don't trust in their ability. Even though they think they want something, they find themselves with all kind of vices, all kind of issues, all kind of frivolous spending that is not good. So I'm content with knowing what I got and maintaining what I have and the Most High Yah will be the one that brings the increase when he feels it's right. That's the reason why a lot of people don't trust people with money. They don't trust themselves. You gave somebody $100, and you know good and well you don't trust nobody with money. You know, anytime somebody gave you some money, I want you to think about this. They gave you some money, and you said you needed the money to do a certain thing. What did you do with it? You went and did something else. You violated the trust they may have had of you. And furthermore, your distrust of people because you don't trust yourself with money. I'm telling you right now, man, you could put a lot of these carnally minded people have a price. And it's just a matter of getting that exact number. We see this in marriage in these days. People are jumping ship. They get an opportunity to leave a marriage, man, they jump. You put that briefcase or an opportunity for success or status, they jumping ship. This is why I say, man, my trust will always be in the Most High Yah. He will never fail me. You can't go wrong. Example, the reason you don't trust your spouse to go to certain places because possibly you don't trust yourself to be in those places. Think about that. Think about what I just said. Every time your spouse want to go, he or she go to the grocery store, going to Walmart. Hey, you know it's going to be some women and men in there. I need you to do right by me. Every time you go, you got to get them a safety brief. And what's possible because you don't trust yourself. Man, you find out the people when it comes to the most possessive, controlling, and people with trust issues, man, if you put them in a scenario where people are going to approach them and try to shoot their shot, they're going to fold every time. They're going to fold every time, but yet they're holding you to a standard that they themselves can't live. And this is why I say, man, I'm going to put my trust in the Most High Yah. I ain't got time. You got to think, man, the Most High Yah told us to work out our salvation with fear and trembling. I don't have time to be running behind folk and see what folk doing, because I know in the word, everything that you do is being recorded. Everything that you say is on a recorded line. I'm not the judge and the jury. Continuing, you're walking in the flesh. Even though you know right from wrong, you can't trust yourself because you have no control over your own flesh. Therefore, you project this on the other people. Romans chapter 8, verse 6-8. For to set the mind on the flesh is death, but to set the mind on the spirit is life and peace. For the mind that is set on the flesh is hostile to Yah, for it does not submit to Yah's law. Indeed, it cannot. Those who are in the flesh cannot please Yah. Man, rather more than trying to place your trust in people that shown you that they are following their flesh. When it comes to knowing right from wrong, and then they get a feeling that justifies them doing wrong. Man, that's an example of somebody following their flesh. You would be a fool to put your doggone trust in somebody that's moving like that. You be to give them a little bit, because they're gonna let you down. And this, when you think about, you know, the righteous are scarcely saved. Only a remnant will be saved. Man, there's a lot of people out here that are untrustworthy. A lot of people. A lot of these pulpit people. Man, I want you to think, man, what just happened with that man talking about close the doors and had these people, you know, under a mental leash of feeling like they was obligated or required to give a certain amount of money in a church facility. You know, that is people are thinking, okay, because these deceivers have gone out, you know, man, that's going to mess up the trust that people think they have towards the Most High Yah when these men are not led of the Most High Yah. When you're doing actions like this and this stuff is not in alignment with the word of Yah, man, you walking in the flesh. That'll lead to trust issues. You've been so-called paying tithes. But you've been giving your money to heathens, to Gentiles, when the tithes was for the Levitical priesthood. When these folk ain't from the tribe of the Levites. Think about what I'm saying. Strong temptations. We all know someone that is easily given into temptations. It could be you. Even though they can articulate right from wrong, it is foolish to even consider putting your trust in those not walking in the ways of Yah. 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. Yah is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide you a way of escape that you may be able to endure it. See, when we trust, the only way you're gonna get that ability to be able to escape and to execute and escape is to put your trust in him and endure that temptation, not give in to it. If you're somebody that gives into temptation, that can cause you to have trust issues, because if you think, man, if I can't live it, ain't nobody else can do it. No, because you telling yourself, man, you this great and you're this wonderful. But the truth is, the way you're processing it, man, if I can't do it, I don't trust nobody else to do it. Betrayed by the righteous. Psalms 41, verse 6-9. And if he come to see me, he speaketh vanity. His heart gathereth iniquity to itself when he goeth abroad. He telleth, all that hate me whisper together against me. Against me do they devise my hurt. An evil disease. Say they cleaveth fast unto him, and now that he lieth, he shall rise up no more. Yeah, mine own familiar friend, in whom I trusted, which did eat of my bread, have lifted up his heel against me. This is for Judas right here. It's talking about Judas. And this is oftentimes, when we look at our fellow brother and sister in the faith, we forget the fact that, okay, on a daily basis, man, they have to choose to walk in the Spirit. The moment you take your mind off of walking in the Spirit, man, you default to walking in the flesh. If you are not on constant guard of a spiritual attack and of Hasatan entering in, he will enter into you. I want you to understand, before you got delivered out of a lot of this stuff, before you, were saved, were working out your salvation or even focused on that, man, your address, your vessel was a common known address to Hasatan. That was his dwelling place when you was walking in lawlessness. So he knows where you are, how to find you. He knows what areas you weak at. Just like the Most High Yah knows, and he knows how to give you an escape, but you have to choose to walk in the way of the Spirit. Mark 14, verse 43-45. And immediately while he was still speaking, Judas came, one of the 12, and with him a crowd of swords and clubs from the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, the one I will kiss is the man. Seize him and lead him away under guard. And when he came, he went up to him at once and said, Rabbi, and he kissed him. Luke chapter 22, verse 3-6. Then Satan entered into Judas, called Iscariot, who was of the number of the 12. He went away and conferred with the chief priests and officers how he might betray him to them, and then were glad and agreed to give him money. So he consented and sought the opportunity to betray him to them in the absence of a crowd. So I want you to stand, like I said, man, people have a price. Judas had a price. If Judas would have went out seeking the price, Judas went out seeking the price. If they would have gave him too little, he might have not have done it, but they gave him the right price, and that's all he needed. And it's not that, the Most High Yah didn't, entrust them as friends, as a friend, as a follower, but never, when you look at how the Messiah reacted to this betrayal, he didn't do all the stuff that we do. He don't start running behind the other disciples. Y'all know I got trust issues because Judas betrayed me. Why? Because his trust was in the Most High Yah. He didn't have to threaten all the other disciples. Man, if you pull a Judas on me, I wish you would. That's all the stuff we do stemming from trust issue, because our trust is misaligned. It's misplaced. Desires for revenge. Woo! This one right here is why people justify their trust issues. When you have trust issues, you live for the day that someone betrays you so you can justify the rage that is bottled up deep down in your heart. You pacing, man, you in the house pacing, look in the mirror. Oh, I wish they would. You're anticipating rage and a reaction. You've already come up with a plan well before something ever happens to you. That's not trusting in the Most High Yah. This is why people oftentimes have the most overboard reactions to the smallest forms of betrayal. Or you can make a simple mistake and they going, oh, I told you, I knew it. I knew this what was going on. I felt it in my spirit. You like, wait a minute. I didn't even do nothing that major. It could be something very small, very minuscule. But if they've got it in you have people that see all kinds, like you cannot even see clearly when you have the desires for revenge. This shows a lack of trust in Yah and his ability to avenge you, even if somebody does something to you. See, you got some people have a desire for revenge so bad that they don't even make it possible for somebody to repent. Oh no, repentance ain't for that Negro. Oh no. Repentance for me, but it ain't for them. Think about it. Romans 12:19. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of Yah. For it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, says the Lord. But you have to trust in him with all thine heart in order to be content with this. 1 Peter 3:9. Do not repay evil for evil or reviling for reviling. But on the contrary, bless. For to this you were called, that you may obtain a blessing. Proverbs 24:29. Say not, I will do so to him as he has done to me. I will render to the man according to his work. Okay, let me give you an example. Man, I did a video and it'll be coming out later. And I was talking about this term of cheating causing people to do tick for tack in a relationship. And how a lot of women, will find themselves in a case of biblical adultery trying to go tick for tack. He gonna go lay down with a whole nother woman on me? On me? I got him. Now you done made your move. And I've often talked about how adultery, according to the Torah, is defined by the status of the woman. Think about that. When you look at David killing a man solely for the purpose to be able to take his wife, adultery. Her woman or the other man's woman belonged to somebody. She was the possession of another man. Women don't realize this. A man laying down with another woman and doing it behind the scenes will break any trust that is there in the relationship. But I often tell you, because religion does not support the way of the book, righteousness, they don't tell men, okay, man, if you got that kind of desire to cover another woman, this is how you should do it. So you don't violate that trust. Some women will still see it as distrust, contrary to what the word says. Even if the Most High Yah says, if you take another wife, this is how you're supposed to do it. Man, when you think about what I'm saying in that context, man, a married woman that's going tick for tack with a man because he violated his trust, he didn't sin unless he laid down with a married woman because she belonged to somebody else. Adultery is defined by the status of the woman. She'll go down and lay down with a married man or a single man. Either way, it's a case of biblical adultery. And oftentimes, a woman will justify this and she wonders why my life is not playing out like I thought it was. Why am I getting the lesser end of the stick? It's because you actually transgressed, whereas the man broke no law of the Most High Yah. I get what he did was undesirable, but you can't find that as doggone sin in the Torah. This is why I challenge people to be biblically sound in the word of Yah, and not when you start mixing them at, oh, cheating. You line 10 folk up, men and women, don't nobody have the same standard of cheating. But the Most High Yah's word don't change. Okay? Proverbs 24:29. Say not, I will do so to him as he have done it to me. I will render to the man according to his work. Think about that. That is, somebody does something undesirable to you. It can be a friend, it could be a co-worker. You so desiring revenge. Some people get a rise out, they get a dopamine rush once they get their revenge. But deep down, it never fills that void. Never fills that void, that empty spot you got. This I want you to understand. Man, there is, like, I don't have no time, no energy to have misplaced trust, because I know what that looks like before. I know what doing that feels like before, and you will be constantly let down. Trusting in the Most High Yah is trusting in the fact that everything will come out. Oftentimes, you got a gut feeling, an intuition, and what you got is heartburn, indigestion. You got bubble guts. You got a case of mud butt. So sometimes we use that, I felt, I was bubbling, and that's what made me get in my car and go follow them and see what they was doing. It takes far too much of your energy and time to follow behind and investigate someone you do not trust. This is the time wasted that could be used to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. If you trust Yah, then you will place your trust in his word and not the flawed, infallible man or woman. Luke chapter 8, verse 17. Before I get into this one, if you are in a leadership position, I want you to understand, man, you have the capacity to be able to, or you are charged with, trusting and verifying. Verifying that the work is actually being done when you are in a leadership position. That's something completely separate than what I'm talking about today. So you will have some people that know that good and well that they're not doing right. They don't want you to verify. What supervisor does not, or manager does not have to come behind and see that the task actually got done? That way you can trust in the fact that when you sign your name saying it got done, that you have seen it with your two eyes. And that's the trust but verify. Okay, what kind of parent or covering would you be for a child if you trusted in the fact that they told you that they cleaned their room and you never went back and checked it? So trusting, and verifying is a part of being a covering, is a part of being a leader. That's separate from a lot of these trust issues I'm talking about today. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to the light. So it just takes trusting in Yah. If something has been done that's undesirable, unrighteous, and wicked, as evil, man, it's going to come out. And it's not going to come out when you want it to. It's going to come out in the time that the Most High Yah sees fit. What we try to do is run behind and try to speed it up. And oftentimes when you do that, you don't get to see you only getting to see a small fraction of it. You're not getting to see the full extent. But when the Most High Yah reveals something, you're going to get to see the full extent and say, dang, boy, I ain't know it was jumping like that. But if your trust is in him, man, you'll be able to move on. You'll be able to do what you need to do and Charlie might continue mission. Luke 12, 2-3. Nothing is covered up that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. Therefore, whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the light, and what you have whispered in private rooms shall be proclaimed on the housetop. This is where I said, man, I'm trusting in that word of Yah. Got too much work to do in these last days. Got too much, when it comes to working out your own salvation, than running behind somebody trying to investigate. 1 Corinthians 4:5. Therefore, do not pronounce judgment before the time, before the Lord comes, who will bring to light the things now hidden in darkness and will disclose the purposes of the heart. Then each one will receive his condemnation from Yah. Ecclesiastes 12:14. For Yah will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or evil. Why not trust in this? This is a great return on investment. Somebody telling you, don't worry about it. I got it. Don't worry about it. Don't stress yourself out. I got it. I got it. And people don't believe in this word, like I said earlier, because they don't even want people to be able to repent. They want to be able to hold something over somebody's head. Oftentimes when people have given their life to the Most High Yah and are walking in ways of truth where they have hurt us, we don't even like to see they ability to be changed. We don't even want their mind to be. I knew they wasn't no good. No, that's a front. That joker fraud. He didn't give his life. They praying to the devil. You saying all kind of stuff because just the repentance that you took part in, you don't think nobody else is deserving of it. When you think about it, you yourself is not deserving of it. And this is why when we think about it, man, the Most High Yah gives us, this is a gift. It was nothing you did to earn doggone repentance. But we try to hold that like that's something that we control. No. Everybody else can repent, but they can't repent. They can't turn their life around. He's still a crackhead. Look, you got family in your family members that's dealing with addiction. Man, they can turn their life around and you don't never see it. You refuse to see it. He probably in there, working for that crack. He probably in his car on lunch smoking that crack, Insecurity, trust issues. Insecurity, noun, uncertainty or anxiety about oneself, lack of confidence, the state of being open to danger or threat, lack of protection. Insecure, not secure within self. Insecurity often stems from a combination of factors, including low self-esteem, past experiences, especially trauma or abuse, social pressures, and negative self-talk, leading to feelings of inadequacy and uncertainty. Insecurities can lead to cycles of distrust, where individuals constantly question their partner's intentions and actions, further damaging the relationship. That's why I said, man, when you have, man, you are a piece of work when it comes to maintaining relationships. If you've ever been in a relationship with somebody that has any one of these things that I've like insecurities or things like that, man, they don't trust themselves. They don't trust you. They don't see. I want you to understand if you look in the mirror and Hasatan has put something in your mind to where you can't see that you were made just how the Most High Yah wanted you to be made, and you got an insecurity from that, man, that's gonna stress the relationship out. Like I said, you're gonna need a lot of validation, a lot of reassurance. Marital trust issues. This is a big one. Because everybody says, they got a relationship with the Most High Yah, but this right here is something that people don't talk about. We want to hold people to a standard without actually doing what the word says. We want to hold people to all this accountability of righteousness, but we don't even want to give them the benefit of covering them if we are sanctified as a husband or a wife. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 10 through 15. And unto the married I command ye not, but the Lord, let not the wife depart from her husband. But if she departs, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband, and let not her husband put away his wife. I encourage you to look behind anytime you see put away, in the New Testament. You need to look behind it with a lexicon to get the right context of what it's talking about. Verse 12, but to the rest speak I, not the Lord. Speak I, not the Lord. If any brother have a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to do well with him, let him not put her away. And the woman which have a husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now they are holy. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or sister is not under bondage in such case, but Yah have called us unto peace. So when you think about that, oftentimes we see people holding their spouse to the standard of righteousness and you yourself are not walking in righteousness. You got this form of religion and godliness. You can, all of this, but you don't even accept your partner for where it is. You think, okay, because we didn't put these little rings on, because we didn't say I do, I dabba do, all of this mess, all of a sudden you think they just supposed to be, the Messiah. You think your wife supposed to just be Ruth out of nowhere. No, this takes some work. This takes some work. But in order to give, oftentimes we hold people to a standard and we don't even give them an environment for growth. We don't even give them an environment to be better. You knew your doggone spouse was lawless when you said I dabba dabba do. You knew you were lawless when you said I dabba dabba do. And when I say I dabba dabba do, that's a whole gamut of range of things that people say at these marriage ceremonies but don't live up to. A lot of people, when you think about it, according to Torah, they don't even keep their word. To death do us part. Dabba dabba do. Look at the divorce rate. That was until your feelings was hurt. Until you found out or accepted the fact that you married somebody lawless. You married somebody unrighteous. Man, if you are sanctified, you the sanctified husband, you the sanctified, wife. Man, you can't change nobody. But the Bible speaks about, man, a wife, being able to influence her husband by her righteousness. Not by trying to tell him, you ain't X, Y, and Z. You're worthless. You need to do better. That ain't gonna make nobody do better. That's not gonna bring no conviction. That's gonna make somebody, want to off themselves. Think about what I'm saying. A lot of times we have a lot of these trust issues because we're not trusting in the Most High Yah. We too busy trying to change our partner, change our spouse, trying to mold them, build a bear. I'm gonna build a man. He ain't what I want. I'm gonna make him what I want. I'm gonna dress him up as righteous, even though this is a lawless man. She ain't a biblical wife, but I'm gonna give her all the clothes, the garments, she gonna have the mannerisms, all of that, be able to fool everybody. But this is a lawless woman. And you done deceived yourself with I dabba dabba do. When you should be trusting in the Most High Yah, in your righteousness, working out your salvation, walking in spirit and truth, so they can see, oh man, a lot of these conflicts and tribulations that I'm having, my spouse ain't having. Man, my spouse, when my flesh is telling me to go far left, man, they doggone, whatever's in them is telling them to stay on a straight and narrow, not to lose it. Man, the righteous should be influencing. We can't change nobody. You got a man out there with trust issues or a woman out there with trust issues in their spouse, and they haul off and play rock'em sock'em with each other. Like that's going to change them. No, they're going to go right back over there if they are doing something with that black eye and jump on that doggone digging stick or get dug out. One of the you can't change nobody. But this is all the kind of control measures men and women have. I've done videos talking about domestic violence. And a lot of times this stemming from trust issues. You don't believe what somebody is saying, so you haul off and hit them. I know you was over there with her. Clock. I know you was with Tony. Clock. You ain't got no evidence other than your doggone feeling. Some of this stuff that you can do in marriage will show that you don't have any trust in the Most High Yah. Or you got very little. You trusted in all these other, I trust Apple's location. Your location was on, I got you. You doing all of this stuff. Like, man, that take a whole lot of time. Whole lot of time that you could be spent working out your doggone salvation. Forgiveness is a choice. Once you acknowledge that the only perfect one was Messiah, it will make it easier for you to forgive yourself as well as others. When you struggle to forgive yourself for wrongdoing, you hold unforgiveness over the heads of others, weaponizing it. Think about it. You have the expectation that you need to be forgiven. Anytime you done wrong, you need to be forgiven. I'm worthy of it, but they ain't worthy of it. I can never forgive you. Ephesians 4:32. And be ye kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as Yah, for Christ's sake, have forgiven you. Matthew 6:14-15. For if you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive you your trespasses. I'm like, man, I'm not missing out on my salvation for unforgiveness. What? Man, you playing. You can't be serious. I'm going to do everything else within my ability, walking in the spirit, to be able to walk in truth. But this one, I'm choosing. No, You got people out there dealing with it, and they're going to realize they're going to miss out on the kingdom. All of this stuff stemming from trust issues. Anybody that's ever involved, man, you got a choice, right? You got a choice right now. As we enter into the feast, man, I'm telling you, don't bring this stuff into the feast, the Passover, unleavened bread. Your pride and ego has fooled you into thinking you're worthy of forgiveness, but they are not. Nigga, what did you do to desire that forgiveness? What did you do? You was lost, unrighteous, wicked, whole head sick, heart faint. What did you do? And we weaponize it over other people. Like we got raffle tickets to be able to say, you get some forgiveness, you get some forgiveness. You don't get no forgiveness. You get some, you don't get none. You get some, but you don't get none. Man, you going to playing with unforgiveness. See, oftentimes when you come to unforgiveness, what happens is we're truly not happy with where we are in our life. And holding unforgiveness over somebody's head justifies us always being in a victim mindset. Because if we remove that victim mindset, it will showcase the fact that, okay, now you got the time and space to actually do the work. See, some people don't want healing. Some people don't want deliverance. So they weaponize unforgiveness because they don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the internal work. So it's easier to say, you know what? I'm just not going to forgive them. And this can be 20, 30, 40, 50 years of somebody's life of choosing to unforgive. Like you yourself have never hurt nobody. If you yourself had not hurt nobody, we'd have a book written on behalf of you. Contrary to how great you think you are, you're flawed and fallible. You've done people wrong. You need forgiveness too. Man, I'm telling you, man, I'm not missing out on my opportunity to be forgiven for some of the foolishness that I done simply out of not forgiving somebody else. Are you serious? I'm telling you, man, whether it be a mama, it be a daddy, it be a spouse. You mean to tell me you want to take this? Unforgiveness is like taking a kettlebell and a yoke and putting a chain to the yoke and on the kettlebell and dragging it around. You got to carry that everywhere you go. And every time somebody does something to you, you just add on more kettlebells to the point where you just jerking at these kettlebells because it's so heavy and you can't move. You're going to choose to walk like that rather than to say, you know what? I'm going to free myself. I'm going to break these chains today with some forgiveness. Man, if you think about some of the unsavory stuff that you've done, if you think about some of the stuff that you've done and ain't been caught for, man, that'll take you into repentance right then and there. You count on your finger some of the stuff that you have done and know you need forgiveness for. Man, that'll pretty soon you'll realize you done more in your lifetime that's been done to you, no matter how minuscule or small you think it is. Well, see, what happens is you try to say, well, it was only a piece of bubble gum. But he or she cheated on me. That ain't the same. You know, I lied about something little, but they lied about something large. It's still a lie. You still gonna want forgiveness, no matter how small, minuscule, minute your lie is. Tell you, man, I'm telling you, this whole head is sick the way we process stuff. And, you know, man, you don't want to be going into the Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread. Man, you got it right now. There's somebody that you need to forgive. Man, you can call them up and just let them know, hey, I forgive you. I forgive you. So I can be free. It's nothing you did. Don't worry about it. You ain't got to try to earn my forgiveness. I'm giving it to you. Just as the Most High Yah forgave us for Hamashiach's sake. For the sake of Hamashiach, he forgave us. Man, you don't know what that could do to somebody like you calling and saying you forgive. Where some of these people that you are walking around bearing unforgiveness in your heart, they ain't even thinking about you. You walk around thinking about them 24/7. They're not even thinking about you. A lot of times people don't even know they didn't hurt you. But when you got trust issues so to the point, like I told you, you just adding up all these kettlebells. Before you know it, you got 30, 40 kettlebells that you carrying around. Every time somebody had done something to you, you done added another kettlebell, 15, 20 pounds. And when you get to that point where you can no longer walk because the weight you're carrying around is too heavy, a fool would continue jerking at the yoke, trying to walk. But somebody that realizes, hey, I can't keep going like this. And once you start forgiving, man, you feel free. Free. The bulk of your life has been spent in unforgiveness. Trying to seek vengeance. It's the perfect opportunity, boy. I'm going to get me some get right. They gave me one of these kettlebells. I'm going to give them two. No. You got an opportunity to say, you know what? Man, I got the key to unlock this doggone lock to get this yoke off my neck. Every time you forgive. Man, you forgiving for righteousness' sake. You're not forgiving because they don't deserve it. Or because they deserve it. Sometimes people want you to work for their forgiveness. Okay, man, let me tell you something. If the Most High Yah had that same thing, man, you wouldn't make it. You wouldn't make it. Putting a limit on it. There are such people you will encounter that will harbor the pain coming from betrayal, and they will play the victim as if they have never done anything wrong or that they have done very little wrong. When in fact, if you look at their lifestyle, you will see the evidence that they themselves need forgiveness of sins also. They will put a limit on forgiveness and say things like, I forgave you once, but I can't again. Matthew 18:21, verse 22. Then Peter came up and said to him, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and I forgive him? As many as 7 times? Yahushua said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 70 times, but 77 times. That's a lot of forgiveness. That's a lot of forgiveness. What do? I forgave you once. I can't forgive you again. You gonna do this to me again? 77 times. The reality. This is the reality of what we're dealing with. We're talking about internal and external trust. Romans 3:23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of Yah. Man, you can't help nobody that don't even acknowledge this. You cannot help anybody that does not acknowledge this. In their mind, they under such a strong delusion that they have never sinned. They the Messiah themselves. The book should have been written to them. If they can't acknowledge this, I'm telling you, you have no business putting your trust or giving them an ounce of your trust. Because they have diluted themselves to think that, okay, this don't apply to me. And this thing says, for all. Proverbs 28:13. Whoever conceals his transgression will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain his mercy. You know, oftentimes we have to stop looking at, see, what happens is we choose not to forgive. We choose to hold stuff overhead. We choose to have trust issues because there's a worldly form of prospering and then there's a righteous form of prospering. And just because somebody is prospering in a worldly sense and a carnal sense doesn't mean the Most High Yah is prospering them. So we got to learn to differentiate the two. You got people out there scamming, doing all kind of abominations, to the Most High Yah, and they look like they prosper, but it's in a carnal sense. They've concealed their transgression. But the one who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21 through 22. For even hereunto were you called, because Hamashiach also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. Man, think about that. I showed you, man, when Hamashiach was betrayed, man, look at how he responded. He continued on with the mission. He Charlie Miked. Look at how when we experience betrayal, look at how we go about it. Look at how it shapes our whole process and thought process and mindset, our way of thinking. Man, trust issues can take you way off the path. See, man, when persecution comes, when betrayal comes, that's just another test of your faith. Are you going to trust in the Most High Yah? Are you going to trust in the fact that he would avenge you? Are you going to trust in the fact that just like you have repentance, that other people can have it too? This is why Hamashiach was the example, is the example for us to follow. But it's something about, man, when we get violated or when we, I want you to understand. Let me give you another one, man. When you think about abominable lifestyle, a lot of these abominable lifestyles, people like if a little girl gets violated by somebody, it could be a family member, anybody. That lack of forgiveness shapes their way of life. And then what do? They go get with women. And then they got the worst statistic as lesbian. They enter into all other types of realms instead of getting healing. When they go into counseling, man, this yoke of bondage is upon them and they break down. Same thing with boys. Little boys get violated. Somebody touched on them. Man, forgiveness is something that you have to practice. You got to practice it. Man, if you can't forgive nothing small, you ain't going to be able to forgive nothing large. If you're not understanding that people is... Now, when I'm talking about forgiveness, I'm not talking about you become BFFs with these people that's been violated. If they walk in evil, if they walk in contrary to the will of the Most High Yah, separate yourself from them. Be set apart from them people. He tells you in the word, come out from among them, the sexually immoral. Man, we have to remember the example that the Most High Yah gave us. We have to put all of our trust in him. If you're putting your trust anywhere else, man, you are sure to be let down. But one thing I can say for sure is the Most High Yah ain't never failed me, but guarantee you I done failed myself a lot. That's where I had to, walking in truth, I was able to develop that internal trust. That internal trust that, I'll be able to trust my brothers and sisters and know that, okay, they can make mistakes. If your trust in somebody and it's somebody that's carnally, if your trust in somebody means that you never allow them the room to make a mistake or to do something wrong, you didn't understand the message. You didn't understand the message. You got righteous people, man, that you got to think Judas was righteous. But when the moment Hasatan entered in, that's when the betrayal came. Messiah didn't dwell on it. He mentioned it for a brief moment and he continued on with the mission. And that's what we got to do. Glory to the King. Shabbat Shalom, Yisrael, and have a blessed day of rest. Closer to Yah Ministries, kicking it gun barrel straight.